everyone. It's wonderful to be in the community, and it's so wonderful to see some familiar faces. Thanks for signing up for coaching. I hope it's been fruitful for you. I'm here for it, so reach out and I can help you on your journey. So, today is organizational goal setting. And I know you've already done a lot of this work and you're setting goals and reaching goals, and so I just want to make sure you got some pro tips in your toolbox to help you on the journey. And again, the ground rules for my sessions is that is my responsibility to make sure that you get the gifts. So if you have a question, you need me to run back something, give you a different example, let me know, put your voice in the space, put a question in the chat. Also know that all of us are smarter than one of us. So if you have some experience or something that you want to share with the community, that is very welcome in this session. And yeah, that's where we are. So again, I'll get started and let's get to filling that toolbox. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and then I'm going to share my slides. All right, organizational goal setting. Woohoo! We're here today. And then next time we have planning your work and working your plan. So this is like a little combo 1, 2, to go together. So today, again, I just want to give you some very practical and strategic tools that help you align your pathway with your mission. So this idea of having these very actionable goals that help you build this implementation strategy that can be very successful so that you can have the impact that you desire. That is the goal of this kind of next series of training. So we're going to make sure that you can really understand your issues by using a design tool that I really like called the problem tree analysis. It's a design thinking tool. I think it's very helpful. And thinking, it helps you really think about your distinction and your interconnection to your goals and your mission. It's just a way for you to think a through line through all of that information. And again, as we're thinking through these very specific goals that we've set for ourselves, for the project, for our organization, making sure that we're using the tools, SMART goals, and making sure that we're using the framework so that we can be impactful in our work. So I have several tools in our toolbox today. And again, if we need to go back, go slow, rewind, do again, let me know. And because the only way to really know how to use the tools is to use the tools. So we're gonna just break through and see what we can do. So I'm gonna talk through a problem tree analysis because I think that we often deal with challenges on the surface level. And so sometimes it's helpful to think of a tool that can help us think about challenges at the surface level as well as at the roots. And when we can do this, it really can be a powerful tool. And it reminds us that maybe we need to address challenges at both levels, both on the surface, some immediate ways to address issues, but also at the roots. And sometimes we don't have that capacity. So we start to think strategically about partners. What can we do on our own? And then what can we do in collaboration? And so that enables us to potentially have a dual impact, both at the surface level and at the root level. But we'll talk about this more. But the idea is that when you use the problem tree analysis tool, then you can really think strategically about your goals and your practical pathway to actualizing those goals. And that's when we really want to unpack those goals and objectives, and then we want to smarten them up so that we're very clear about how we get to them. And then we can use our SWOT analysis to help us understand how we lead in our strengths, because we can only be distinctive in our area of strength. And then thinking about the logic model tool, how that can help us in our journey of understanding what resources we have, what activities we can do, what outputs, what outcomes, what impact. Now, you have already had some exposure to SMART goals, SMARTY goals. You've had some exposure to SWOT analysis. You've already had some exposure to logic models. I'm just bringing those tools back into the top of your toolbox so you can see how they can be helpful for you as you're building and setting your goals. And this is just important because this is that time of the year when you really need to think about how you do more with the resources that you have available to you. So that's the game plan. So I'm gonna I'm gonna just pause for a second and I'm just want to check in and just say, like, does this strategy make sense? Is it resonating? Do you feel like, I'll show up for the class, but really I'm clear about my goals and I made them realizable. So I just want to build some community and conversation. How are you feeling about the task at hand when it comes to the goal setting and the goal reaching? That's going to be really critical. So any thoughts or comments, any sort of, you know, apprehension, any feeling of assurances, just how you feeling when it comes to this topic of goals and goal setting, reaching those goals, actualizing those goals, implementing them, and again, feel free to put your voice in the space or in the chat. Olivia, I saw your hand.
Hi, I am. This is my first training of this kind, and I just kind of stepped into this role as director of this organization. So I'm not really. I sounds like this is a series and other trainings that have happened.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not really familiar with these tools yet.
Okay. Well, listen, here's the thing about when you show up to Dr. Madden's session. You just come as you are, and I will give you what you need. You got me? All right, good. Excellent. Love that. All right, good.
Thank you.
Other thoughts or comments? Okay, we got some stuff in the chat, I think. All right. Any voices in the space? While I pull through the. Okay, it's Smarty goes, thank you, Natalie. Yes. All right, good. Lenore's like, okay, I could use some of this training. Okay, that's fair. I love that. Yes. Want to bring these tools back up to the top of the list because sometimes we forget. Sometimes our toolboxes be so big. We've like, wait a minute, I forgot I had that tool in there. Okay, wonderful. Okay, good. All right, wonderful. All right. All right. Lenore, yes, love.
So I'm appreciative of this smart and smarty skills that we're going to be learning. I would just like to ask you to take one little step back.
Yeah.
Actually, and I have a question too. So would you say that this goal setting is really the foundation that that we should be building on? I kind of want to know like foundational steps and kind of the way we should conceptualize and think about building this infrastructure or strengthening our organization. And then also, do we have an email for you? That's my second question.
So the first question is a resounding yes. A resounding yes. It's sort of like this notion of like faith without works. Like we can want to have all of the impact that we can have in the world, but if we don't have like a pathway or a strategy, it makes attaining those goals feel impossible. But we can do more and be clear and make progress when we can have these organizational goals, when we can set these goals, when we can smarten the goals up, and then we can achieve those goals. We can measure those goals. But if we can't put our arms around what it is that we propose to do and how we propose to do it, then it becomes insurmountable. It becomes a feeling of you know, we're not able to realize our mission. So the goals help us to actualize our mission. That's a powerful value proposition when you have wonderful clarity about why it is that you exist, that you're good stewards of funding, that you're having this impact in your community. So your ability to have clarity around these goals, how you plan to reach them, by when, who's going to be responsible, it allows you to live in your mission, you know? Mhm. And we'll make sure that you get some contact information as well. Sign up for some coaching. We'll get you there. Any other thoughts or comments? Okay, Alejandro, put your voice in the space because I think this is a powerful comment that you're making.
Yeah, sorry for any background noise.
No, you're good.
But the idea is really to transition from youth leadership and having youth-led projects into more of a youth consultant and youth board model. Simply because that's where the real power in the community lies as we are getting more involved with the city and the county, and we want their voices to be heard as much as possible and following that up with action So I think just avoiding any any pitfalls that might exist and not trying to reinvent the wheel here, really just going off of any other experiences that other folks have had. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Thank you all for putting your voice in the space. I am going to
Oh.
go. Mhm. Go ahead.
Okay. This is the one for, okay, that isn't, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to share a screen, and I am then going to share my slides. And I have a question for you. So, if we think about a goal for your project, you know, if your program achieved one major success this year, what would it be? Again, if your program achieved one major success this year, what would it be? Pop that into the chat. Take a few minutes to think about it. One major success this year, what would it be? You know, what would it be? I want these goals top of mind. So when we go through this goal setting, you can go back to the chat and figure out if you have it, if you've, you know, pulled it together here. So top of mind, one major success, what would it be? All right, we're getting some things pulled up. All right. Organize so you can accomplish more. I love that, Natalie. Yes. And you are moving in that direction there. Yes. Recruit 100 young women for the program. Yes. Solid project management system. Infrastructure building, so important. Yes. Expand collaborations with LGBTQ plus students in 3 new schools. Look at these people giving me some smart goals. I love it. Olivia, SMART stands for, we're going to revisit it, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. When you smarten your goals up, it allows you to know when you're reaching them more clearly. So, good. More staff and more programs. Yes. Networking with new partnerships to implement strategic objectives and partnerships. Okay. Networks, building partnerships. Yes. Creating collective leadership. Model, including youth. Love that. Increasing youth leadership model, expanding our internships and fellowships, you know, impacting the youth. Love this. All right, good. All right, this is wonderful. All right, I love this. Yes. Saving lives. Yes. Building coalitions. Yes. Youth council. Okay. So we all have clarity about goals. We all know that they're important to help us actualize and realize our mission. So that's why this session is so important. We all know the way forward, or we all know what we want to actualize in the future. What these tools will provide you with is a way forward, a clear pathway forward. So fill the chat with like, if you got one thing done this year, what would it be, right? So when we think about some of these goals, again, I want to put a new tool in your toolbox. And this tool is the problem tree analysis. And the reason that I'm starting here, you know, is that sometimes we need to really understand a challenge across some different depths. So I'm going to share my screen back. Share my screen. And now I'm going to share my slides. So again, when we think about, we know what our goal is. So we have that picture set. We know what it is that we want to do. And we know the challenges that we often need to overcome. And so this tool, this problem tree analysis is a very useful tool because it enables us to understand issues at the surface and at the roots. And sometimes we need to understand challenges at these different depths so that we can move forward in the work necessary to achieve our goals. So I find myself using the problem tree analysis a lot because sometimes I'm trying to figure out, am I addressing the problem, you know, at a level where I can solve the problem, or am I only able to address this problem where I can put a Band-Aid on it? And here's the thing, sometimes a Band-Aid is as good as we can get. Sometimes a Band-Aid is a powerful thing to have. And sometimes we can figure out ways to get at the root level of a challenge so that we can alleviate that issue. Okay, so we need to, in this work, be able to have a both and perspective. And what the problem tree analysis tool does for us is that it trains our thinking to look at surface level issues and root level issues so that we can determine strategically what path we need to take so that we can achieve our goals. So the problem tree analysis is an amazing tool. So it's a metaphor, and it allows us to build this understanding, and we use the tree as that metaphor. And we can separate the causes, which are in the roots, from the effects, which are in the branches of a central issue, the challenge that we put in this kind of trunk of this metaphorical tree. So the way that the tool works is very simply, you put your challenge in the trunk, and then you start in the leaves. Like, how does this show up in your organization when you're dealing with this challenge, when you're facing this challenge? And then you think through, what are some of the root causes of these challenges? And that puts you in those roots. And so I'm going to do something incredibly insane. I'm going to just try and have us do a collaborative mural board. And I just want us you know, to just get an understanding of how this tool can work. And so the challenge that I'm going to ask us to think about is this idea of food insecurity, right? So there are youth leaders in our communities that don't know where their next meal is going to come from. How does that show up? When we think about it, how does that show up, in on the surface level? And then once we think about some of those things, then we can think through what are some root issues around that. And so I'm going to pause for 1 second, and then we're going to have some conversation, and I'm going to show you this ridiculous mural board that I've built for you all. And but the idea is that, it not only builds this empathy piece that, maybe our youth leader is showing up with very impatient, hangry, but then we have some better understanding of maybe we need some additional resources, because this is really at the root level, this is a poverty issue. This is a not knowing what resources are available in the community issue. This is a stigma issue. And so now what we can do is address the issues on the surface, like, making sure that your team has access to, a breakfast or a lunch, or there's a huddle that happens where food is available before you go on your, organizing work or what have you. But at the root issue, there's a food pantry available on the premises so that you're creating, a response to this. And so your ability to look at challenges both in the leaves and in the roots allow you to approach those challenges with different levels of understanding. Does that make sense? Is this making sense? You picking up what I'm putting down today?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
makes lots
Okay.
of sense.
Okay, good. So I'm going to give you an example of the tree. I've created a bunch of trees, and I don't know. We're going to see. I started to put y'all in breakout rooms, but I decided, we can all be a big community together. So I'm going to share this tree, and, I love a mural board. Olivia, you knew, so you don't know about mural boards, so I'm going to show you. So hold on. So, all right. So here we go. I am going to share this link. Hold on. All right. So first, I'm going to share my screen before everybody get in here so you can see what I'm talking about. So let me share a screen first, and then I'm going to invite you all in. Okay, so I'm going to zoom all the way out. So I just created a couple of boards. We can just cluster around the tree. It don't matter. And all I want you to do, I'm going to give you some techniques in just a second for those of you who haven't used it. So here's the metaphorical tree. And so again, you in the leaves, youth in our community are unsure where their next meal is going to come from. How do they show up with that food insecurity? And so you might put in the leaf this hangry piece, or whatever it is, right? And so the idea is that you populate the leaves with how these things show up on the surface. You might see that there's a cluster of things that show up together. And then you can think about, okay, what are some of the root causes? Okay, poverty, that's a root cause, So this is how the tree works. Now, let me back you up a little bit about the mural board. So I'm going to go over here and just away from the tree. If you haven't used a mural board, there's just a couple things. In the lower right-hand corner, you can see this map where you can zoom in or zoom out, this lower right-hand corner. And you can also, you double click in the white space to create a sticky note. You can move the sticky note around just by picking it up and moving it around. Now, mind you, you zoom in to the sticky note to make it bigger, because if you just make the sticky note bigger, it's not really helpful, because then you're gonna have these ginormous sticky notes on the page, and that's just like really ridiculous. So, uh, I'm gonna allow us into the room. Again, double click in the white space to create a sticky note. You can move around by just dragging your fingers, or you can go into the mini map that's in your lower right hand corner and click around. That'll help you. So I'm in this lower right hand corner. All right, so I'm just gonna drop the piece in the chat. We're gonna just spend 10 minutes playing around with the mural board. I just want you to get a feel for the exercise. You'll be able to create these mural boards. You can do the tree. You can recreate the tree with Post-it notes in your office and a made up tree. But again, it's just the idea of find a tree, put some things in the leaves, and put some things in the roots. So let's just give it a shot. And again, the most important piece is that I want you to think about problems that show up on the surface level. And I want you to understand those problems, but I also want you to think through, how do you get to the root issue as well? And again, I'm not suggesting that your organization takes on these root level issues. This is a perfect opportunity for why you build collaboration. But it's important that you're aware of them, because it just changes and reframes your thinking so that you can be surface level, root level ready, you know? And, you know, the chance always favors the prepared, right? So there's nothing more powerful than being prepared. So, and the again, I like Mural Board. It's a free tool. I believe it's still free. You know, the world didn't change. And it's super useful. This board will always be available to you, and I can always give you the. You can always make the copy the tree. I'm happy to send you whatever you need. We can build one for you during a coaching session, whatever you need. But the problem tree analysis is a very useful tool. It just enables you to think about challenges at the surface level and the root level, so that you can increase your preparedness, readiness, and think through how you want to actualize and achieve your goals. You can anticipate the challenges. Again, there's something incredibly powerful about anticipating challenges, because it just really increases your readiness, your willingness, and your resilience, because you're not necessarily taken completely by surprise. Okay. All right. So again, find a tree and just start thinking about, like, what are some of the things? Okay, somebody just made a ginormous sticky note. See, that's not really helpful. I'm gonna delete that one. Zoom in versus making the sticky notes big. Zoom in. Use like you would do on your phone or your iPad. Use your two fingers to zoom in. I'll also make sure that we send the links to a tutorial for Mural, as well as some instructions. So don't worry if you've not used Mural before. I'm just using this tool to drive home the power of the problem tree. Okay. So we'll get you caught up and skilled on the Mural tool, one of my favorite tools, but I love putting tools in toolbox, and this is, I think, a great one. Any thoughts about the problem tree as we kind of think through, move forward? Okay, thank you, Lenore, for that. When you go in, just enter as a visitor. So if there's like a beneath that, you can enter as a visitor, and you don't have to even put your name in. You can click on that, enter as visitor twice, and it'll take you fully to the board. That's another reason why I do like the mural board. People can put their ideas in anonymously, and so the information is there for people to see, and they don't have to attribute it to who wrote what. Good. Okay, good. This is great. This is so awesome. So yes, seeing the roots come alive and the leaves come alive in several of the trees. Love that. Man, you guys are awesome. Um, Yes. Mm, yes. Look at y'all. This is amazing. I'm looking at these leaves. Some of the leaves are distractions, anxious, decreasing social activity, stress and anxiety, health issues, fatigue, low energy, irritated, worried, depressed. And then when I go to the roots of that tree, lack of education on finances and managing money, need for educational proper nutrition, not enough time to shop and prepare for meals, ADHD, low incomes within the home, lack of access to the grocery store, no money. Yes, right? Another tree looking at the leaf issue, low grades in school, developing eating disorder, lack of motivation, food hoarding, and unhealthy behavior, insecure and frustrated, embarrassed, don't know how to cook, isolated. And then those roots talk about undocumented parents lost their job, lack of access to affordable markets, large family, not enough food, lack of culturally relevant food products and vegetables, does not have reliable adult in their house, under-resourced, parents never home due to working overtime, no access to a grocery store. And so what this does is that it helps you to think about, do we need to implement activities or programs that enable us to address issues both at the leaf level and at the root level? It just helps you to think more impactfully about your way forward to make sure you're really thinking about how you address these issues across this sort of like this broadness of depth. Good? Man, just so excellent. Excellent, 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 excellent. So. And then I'll just share screen really quickly for those who may not be using the Miro board. So I'll start here. You can see just wonderful ideas in this first tree, both in the leaf and at the roots. The same with the here, just lots of really powerful ideas. And then here we can see unmotivated, gun violence, lack of focus during team meetings, unable to focus on education, distracted, inconsistent participation. And then at the root level, food excess, food availability, parents not available to cook, no access to healthy, affordable food options, low income, unhoused, no way to cook or store food. Man, you guys get it. It's a powerful thing. And then we see more. It's just a useful tool. Here we can see anxiousness, depression, inability to focus, disabled, malnourished. And then at the root, economic stress, housing insecurity, allergy restrictions. So again, we're able to understand the challenges at the surface as well as at the roots can help us think through how we can approach our way forward. Yes. All right. Any thoughts or comments before I continue to move forward? You can see how you can use this tool, how it can be helpful. Again, this board will be available forever, and I'll put the link in the chat just so that you'll have it. Yes. Kadrian, I think.
Adrian,
me
yes,
what's
thanks. I love your trainings. I'm so happy to be here. But I was just curious, and it could just be me, but what is it like to manage this when you have multiple trees in your situation? You have like right now we're in a time right now with everything going on. We have multiple trees that are the root issues, and there's many reasons that are affecting it. Should we still be categorizing them like this? What is your feedback on that?
I love that question. I really do. I think that I would create a board similar to this one with, let's say, 6 trees. And let's say that there are 6 real challenges that you're trying to overcome in your regular operation of your organization. Put those trees up and put those challenges in the trunk and let your team, let your stakeholders really think about, what this means, because what it could mean, 2 things. One is the power of sharing this with your team is that the people closest to the problem are closest to the solution, right? We know this, right? This is why you guys were able to fill these trees and you didn't have no idea what I was going to ask you to do, right? These beautiful trees. Y'all need to teach my grad students some stuff, right? But number 2, you might find out that there are root level issues that address all 6 of your challenges. And so that means that this root level issue work might be a priority for your organization, because if you can have impact, then you can have impact. And that is good information. That's a good detail to know. That's a good story argument to make to a funder on why giving them a reason to believe that they should fund your work so that you can have sustained transformational change. So there's beauty in thinking about the challenges, not to feel that you're overwhelmed in negativity because that's the world that we live in, but to say that we can understand these issues and we can be strategic and we can set real goals that are actionable, realizable, implementable so that we can have sustainable change. That's the power in what we're doing in this work. You got me? Okay, good. Yes. Kaylin, go ahead. As a community, we can help each other's trees. Yes. Because I might not know nothing about, listen, now y'all know I don't know how to cook, right? So some healthy food prep classes, like I wouldn't be able to offer that at all, right? Not at all. But somebody else's organization, they probably had that on lock. And now this collaboration piece becomes incredibly powerful. We can only be distinctive in our areas of strength. We cannot do all things. Again, this is the power of setting the goals and having the activities to help us actualize those goals, understanding what we can deliver, what we need to get delivered through our partnerships. That's exactly right. Yes. Yes, look at that. I need to sign up for that. Send me the link. Other thoughts or questions? Can you see how you can use the tree? You see the tree, just again, I want you to open up so that, there's never in our work, we know there's never enough time, talent, or treasure. So we need to lean in on strategy, and strategy can help us actualize our goals. You got me? Okay. All right. Other questions before I move on? Okay, good. All right. I am going back to my slides. So sharing my screen. And now share my slides. Excellent. All right. Goals and objectives. Recall goals. Organizational goals are measurable long-term and short-term steps that get carried out on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, basis. It's again, we can think of them short, intermediate, long-term. It's just helping us make sure that we stay on our pathway, right? Sometimes I get the question, so I already put it in. What's the difference between a goal and an objective? Okay, so in the slide, I already have it here. So a goal could be a broader, sort of like aspirational outcome. An objective is more measurable. It gives you the specific steps. Again, goals can be broader, objectives can be a little more specific. Goals can often look at big picture. Go back into the chat. You'll see some big picture. We want to, give youth transformational living experiences. That's a big idea. Objectives can sometimes be much more narrow, much more, focused. Again, the purpose of a goal, again, can give you this longer term, definition, and the purpose of an objective can give you some practical insight. So again, these goals and objectives, as you can imagine, they can broader, and then the objective can be more specific. You can think of it as the goal as the why and the what, and the objectives could be the how and the when, but they work well together. You set this goal, and now you develop your objectives so that you can actualize that goal. So it's really like goals, objectives, activities, but we'll get there, So goals support the vision and the desired end state. So what do we want to achieve? And then we can break those things down into actionable steps. And so these specific steps help us to achieve that goal. So the goal is the destination on the map. The objectives might be our like GPS turn by turn directions. We need both, but each of them give us different insights. Okay. All right. Pausing, see if there's thoughts or questions. Good. Yes. There's never enough time, talent, or treasure. Yes. Good. Okay. Good. Any questions? Goals and objectives is in there if you need it. All right. Good. Okay. Keeping going. You're picking up what I'm putting down still? Okay. All right. Good. Okay. All right. Share my screen. Back to slide share. Okay. organizational goals and project goals. So sometimes we need to think about those level of goals. Sometimes we need to think about what we do as an organization and what we're doing in a very specific project. And again, organizational goals could be, again, our larger scale, why we exist as an organization, a mission. And then a project goal might be how we're funded and how that funding helps a specific program or project, but that program or project also sits within our organizational goal. So we can see the organizational goal as being broad and very mission driven and very strategic. And then we can see the project goal being specific, very tactical, and still tied to this particular initiative, but connected to the organization. So again, because I'm often asked, what's the difference between organizational goals and project goals? Again, it feels very similar, and they are. It's just to demonstrate that there's a fitting that happens when we think big picture. We need that big picture thoughts, because where we set the eyes, that's the direction that we follow. But we need our project level goals so that we are clear about how we get there, right? So here's some insights on some distinctions between purpose and scope and time frame and alignment and the stakeholders and measurement and flexibility. So again, your organizational goals can be more flexible and adapt to changes, but your project goals, they might be very rigid. It could be what a funder has purchased, from the grant that you received, what you committed to delivering, and within a certain specific time frame. So you need to be mindful. So when we think about it, we integrating a clear SMART goal, detailed objectives, and measurable indicators, it really helps us to make progress, to track that progress, and it can help us provide very actionable steps that really align with the work that our organization does, So putting it together can be very powerful, and having clarity about which way to go, how to move forward. Okay. Good. And pausing just to see. You see the lineup. We know our missions. We know that they're powerful and impactful. We know what our organizations, why our organizations exist. We have these big goals. Look back into the chat when we started earlier. You can see them. Now imagine if you can create, these project level goals and objectives and activities that help you actualize those things. It gives you power to know that you are moving in the right direction and that you have your team moving in that direction as well. Good. Any questions or thoughts? Clear? Okay, wonderful. All right, sharing screen. And now slides. So take, for example, ABC Youth Organization mission: build leadership skills of youth in underserved communities. A goal: increase leadership skill level of 100 youth participants in underserved communities by 20% within the next 12 months through targeted training programs, mentorship opportunities. SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Specific: 100 youth. Measurable, in a specific, we're trying to increase the leadership skills. Measurable, it is 100 youth, and we want to increase it by 20%. Achievable, 20%, 100 youth. We might have a large youth community, so 100 youth may be a small fraction of the total youth. Relevant, building leadership skills is part of the mission of the organization. Time bound, we want to complete it in the next 12 months. So we've put this SMART goal into place. And with that SMART goal, we can create some SMART objectives. So the way that we can build this, the way that we can build this leadership skills, this training through training mentoring in 400 youth, is that we could design a leadership program. This is what we need to do. We need to recruit and onboard mentors. We need to enroll participants, and we need to conduct evaluations. And so we have this notion of what it is that we need to do, smarten that goal up. So design a leadership program. That's wonderful. But imagine once we smarten it up, design and launch a 12-week leadership training program by the end of the first quarter. Clear. Now you know what people need to be working on. Everybody know what they like. We need to get this done, by March 1, or it's gonna be a situation. Or April 1, January, March. Yes. And recruit and onboard mentors. That's a good objective. But if we smarten it up, recruit and onboard 20 qualified mentors within the first 3 months to support program participants. Now we have greater clarity on what we need to do, when we need to do it by, and how many we need to make it happen for, right? So that's super helpful versus just recruiting and onboarding mentors. Yes, we need to do it, but if we smarten it up, it becomes much more impactful, right? Enroll participants. Yes, but if we don't know how many, we like, well, I got 2 people in. Well, ultimately, we need 100, so we need to over-enroll to, account for the ones who might slip through the cracks or not be able to finish, or all these other things that happen because there's so much going on in our community. So maybe we target enrolling 200 participants in the program by the end of the second quarter, right? Conduct evaluations. Okay, we need to do that. And if we're gonna have some clarity, like if we don't smarten up this objective, we could think, oh yeah, we'll just do evaluations at the end. But a clear component of it is the pre-evaluation so that you can determine, what's happened during the program. So smartening it up, conducting pre and post program evaluations to measure a 20% improvement in leadership skills, that becomes important. And now you know the work that needs to happen for you to do that. So that becomes really important when you're able to have your objectives, smarten it up, and it gives you much greater clarity. The other thing I think that is important that we don't always think through is how do we look at the measures and the indicators? And so I'm going to tell you that, and I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, but I am just reminding you that funders are going to want to see what their, I like to call it, social return on investment is. What is their SROI? What is their social return on investment? And you need to understand measurement and indicators that you can access. And so thinking about those things in the beginning is only helpful for you. So let's go back to those SMART objectives, this designing a leadership program. Okay, I didn't put all of it in because I couldn't fit it all on the slide, but remember, a 12-week leadership program by the end of the first quarter. This leadership program, a measure could be, we want to complete the program design by the deadline, and an indicator could be how many of those modules get created. So if you're clear about the measurement and the indicator, you can track your project progress and report on that progress as well. And it can help you in the future. So say, for example, you've designed this leadership program and you're like, oh my God, this was harder than what we thought. We can't do this next time if we start from scratch in a 3-month window. This is going to take extreme work, and we need to give ourselves an additional 3 months to make that happen. Okay. You know, or it could be, or it's more likely the recruiting and the onboarding mentors. Maybe that took more time than you had anticipated. But if you don't have a measure and an indicator, then you don't know if you're missing the mark or meeting the mark. So thinking through what measures you can collect affordably and what indicators that you have that give you insightful information becomes really important. Okay. So again, what systems are in place? So enrolling participants, this is just numbers. This is like outputs, numbers of things. Easy, right? How many are enrolled? And then some indicators could be some demographics, and we're confirming that there's an underserved focus because that was our commitment and our mission, right? So yes, you get me. And again, just to demonstrate how it all can come together, the 12-week program, the measure is here, the indicator is here, the recruiting the 20 qualified mentors, the measure is here, the indicator is there. Here's the SMART objective, the measure and indicator. We want to think about these things so that we can track our results and measure our results, because we need to gain capacity and skill around measurement and evaluation, because funders are going to want to know what their investment went towards. And you want to demonstrate that you are good stewards of resources and you know how to measure and evaluate progress. All right. Questions, comments? Yes, SROI. We can deal with those numbers. Yes. We're not giving them the what a typical ROI is, but that social return on investment, we're all about that business. Yes. Questions? Comments? Feeling all right? Good. Olivia, you still with me with this new stuff, these new tools? All right, wonderful. Okay. Just holding a little more space for my introverts, just in case they want to say something, you know. You got to hold space for the eyes, you know. Okay. Okay. All right. You will absolutely get a copy of these slides and the recording. And I'm gonna send you the link to the mural board. And I'm gonna send you the tutorial to the mural board. And you're gonna get my email. You gonna have it. You're gonna be overwhelmed with information. Good. All right, good. All right. Good. Okay. Last call. Okay. All right. Moving forward. Yay. All right. So again, recall SMART objectives, SMART specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. That's what the SMART stands for. So I'm just gonna give you some. I should have put these youth-oriented examples, but I didn't. So oh well. So you know, and when I say poorly written, I don't mean it's not well intended, but like it's not helpful. If I'm being honest, it's not helpful. So to eliminate highway dust, for example, okay, yes, we want to do that. But if we smarten it up, it's so much more helpful to reduce 5%, to reduce by 5% the highway accident rate in fiscal year 2025. It's specific because it's highway accidents. That's if we can reduce accidents, that's the way we can impact, eliminating the deaths. Measurable, 5%. Achievable, okay, we didn't say 100%, relevant, specific is highway accidents. Yep. Relevant, yes, highway accidents will reduce deaths. Time bound, we're going to do it in the fiscal year. Okay. To improve healthy food access. OMG, is that ever important? But is this helpful? Like, technically, no. Because there's 1,000 ways that we can improve healthy food access. But if we smarten it up, then we know that this is our way. This is our leaf to the tree. This is how we contribute to the work. To develop 12 community gardens by summer 2025. It's specific, it's community gardens. Measurable, it's 12 of them. Achievable, like we already own like 4 lots in the community. We can get these gardens together. Relevant, community gardens is definitely a way to improve healthy food access. Time bound, you want to do it by summer 2025. You get me? Yes. So to provide faster service, yes, amen. But not very helpful because how does the team know what the play is on providing that faster service? If we smarten it up to reduce waiting time by 15% in 1 year. Smartening it up gives us great clarity about how we move forward. Same, housing for seniors. Build 25 units of affordable rental housing for senior citizens in fiscal year 2025. Man, smarten it up gives me great clarity on the direction forward and if we're being successful or not. Okay. And then again, we put it all together. We strengthen our goals, we write them really well, and then we smarten them up. Oh my goodness, you are on to something now. Fire, right? Clarity, you can communicate that clarity. People are on the same page, they know how to move forward. Incredibly important. Now, the SMART-T objectives, we can smarten them up, and then we add equity and inclusion. Oh boy, look at us. So we can move from a SMART goal to SMART-T. So SMART goal, build a volunteer team of 100 door-to-door canvassers by May with at least 10 people of color recruited as volunteer leaders first so that they can help shape the way we run the canvases. What? i.e., run the successful annual conference with 20% more attendance, adding the equity and inclusion, and people of color make up at least 50% of the panelists. Man, including the equity and inclusion in the front end can be incredibly impactful. All right, so your equity and inclusion to your SMART goals, powerful. All right, I'm gonna pause. See if there's any questions, thoughts, comments. Everybody still good? Yes, Jessica, you go ahead. That's exactly right. You know what? And we deserve to make our work actualizable. You know, impossible work is not helpful. Impossible work is stressful. We need to reduce our cortisol levels and we need to be able to know how we can have an impact in this work. You got me? So, yes. All right, good. All right, good. All right, share my screen back. All right, sharing slides. All right, recall, SWOT analysis. This is also a useful tool when we're thinking about these organizational goal setting. So, understanding a SWOT analysis, just it's always good. You can use this tool with your stakeholders. It's a typical strategic planning tool, but it works for so many things. You know, you can think about sometimes I'll break down the SWOT analysis into like current strengths and weaknesses or future opportunities and threats, things that are internal or external to the organization. And sometimes I'll give this worksheet to the team that I'm working with because sometimes the mind works better at when we can put them at these intersections. And so you just say, well, jot down something in one of the boxes. You don't have to have every box filled, but it does help you think through, understanding your organization. And then sometimes I'm in a conversation with a client or on a coaching call and they're talking and I've made a little, cross on my notebook or on my iPad and I'm like, okay, these are strengths. I'm just taking notes as they're talking. These are strengths. These are some weaknesses. Oh, these are some opportunities. These are threats. The SWOT analysis is important because, and I cannot say it enough, we can only be distinctive in our areas of strength. If we don't know our strengths, if we don't have clarity about our strengths, how do we leverage them? You know, we lead with strengths and opportunities, and then we mitigate the weaknesses and threats potentially through collaboration. But if we don't understand them, then we can't harness them. We're having much more difficulty mitigating for them. And so that's why having this understanding is incredibly important. That's why the SWOT analysis is helpful when we're looking at setting our goals because we want to lean into our strengths and opportunities. And maybe we want to think about how we can mitigate those threats and weaknesses. And sometimes that can be through a collaborative partnership. You got me? But knowing those things can be helpful. Good. Only be distinctive in our areas of strengths. But if we don't have a sense of what those strengths are, then we're missing out on an opportunity. Okay? Good. Questions? Good. SWOT makes sense. Remembering that. Olivia, you with me? Good. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for letting me pick on you, but you did tell me you didn't have these tools, so I got to make sure you got them. All right. Okay. All right. Share my screen and share slides. Okay. Now we've done logic models, but this is really a good time to think about the logic model and it's also a very good tool for us as we're setting organizational goals. And I know you've had lots of exposure with the logic model. You probably recall the EYC logic model, where they looked at they grounded it in the assumptions, and understanding external factors. Again, all of the things that can be helpful for your work as well. Think about these things that impact your organization. And then the logic model for Elevate Youth, they looked at their inputs, they looked at the activities, they looked at the outputs, the numbers of things, the how many, the number of youth, the number of staff training, the number of new partnerships, the numbers of things, right? And then they broke down outcomes in that short, intermediate, and long term so that you can get to the impacts. So sometimes it's helpful for you to think about your journey, like what can you achieve most immediately? What's going to take some work to achieve? And and being able to stitch the fabric so that you can see how your short and intermediate outcomes really help you to have your impact. And again, outputs are numbers of things. Outcomes is what changes, what increases or decreases as a result of those outputs. And then the impact is like the big picture change, the transformational change. So use these examples that you have to help you model the way for your own organization. And this is how, again, you can attract the resources and the funding and the support to help you go from, I'm gonna need this money so that I can have this impact. And a logic model enables you to demonstrate how that is possible. Okay. And so because logic models can be tricky, I'm just going to unpack it a little bit again and revisit this logic model piece just so that you have, again, a reminder of the understanding of how powerful the logic model can be as you're thinking about, organizational goal setting. All right. So again, the logic model, it has these 5 components: your resources or your inputs, these activities, these outputs, numbers of things, outcomes, what increased or decreased, what's the percentage change, and then impact. And the idea is that you're saying if you had these inputs, these resources, this funding, you could do these activities. And then if you were able to conduct these activities, you can have these specific outputs, numbers of things. So if you had the activity as training, and your output would be the number of trainings. Maybe you do 6 trainings per year. And if you do those trainings, what has changed? What's increased or what's decreased? If the training could be around leadership, it could be, around what have you. And then because you've had that output, because something has increased or decreased, something impactful has happened in your community. So why use a logic model? It's a visual representation of a pathway. It enables you to look at the steps from vision to long-term outcomes all the way to impact. It helps you create your building blocks. It helps you to create your building blocks from start to finish. It is a really amazing action tool that helps you design your programs. It helps with implementation. It helps with evaluation. The thing that I like about the logic model as well is you can start anywhere in the logic model and move backwards and forwards. It really does try and help you to see where there is any gaps that you have in knowledge in the information. There's lots of reasons to use a logic model. You can think about how you can communicate information. It can be different strategies that you want to take. It allows you to think about sequencing of things. You can really, clarify different assumptions. You can look at if you need some additional resources. You can just ensure if your objectives really align with your vision. It's just a powerful tool. And it works very nicely with strategic planning. It works very nicely with goal setting. It can be very helpful. So I want you to get that tool out of your toolbox because, again, planning, communication, evaluation, of fundraising, yes, all of that. And I'm going to tell you that the challenges happen here. People confuse the outputs, the outcomes, and the impact. So the outputs, again, numbers of things. The outcomes, again, what's changed as a result, increase or decrease or percent change. And the impact is the fundamental or the big picture change. All right. You got me? You think you got me on this logic now? Okay, well, take my little quiz then. Get your phone out. QR code that screen and let's see what them quiz results gonna be like. Let's see. Uh-huh. Let's see. Let's see what you got. Let's see if you how you do on this quiz here. It'll let you know immediately. There will be no grades, but all right, you got it. Let's see where we are. Oh, look, Anna, you can click a link, somebody that got their phone, you can just do it online, little Survey Monkey. Everybody been able to access? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. All right. I see people trying to take the test. We'll put the Jeopardy music on. Do 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 do. Final Jeopardy. Look at that. Yes. Thank you, Sam. All right. Okay, 100%. Somebody doing the thing today. Yes. That's all you need. You on the way. Yes. On the way. Excellent. Ah, that's all right, Natalie. You could just do it. That's all right. C's get degrees. I like to say that. Don't nobody like to hear that at my university, but it's the truth. All right, Kaylee, coming in 100%. Go ahead. Okay, excellent. Again, I remember the first time somebody mentioned the logic model to me, I was working, anyway, I was like, a who? A what? And it's really a super useful tool. I encourage you to to really get comfortable with the logic model. EYC has a very beautiful logic model that provides you great insight, and building one for your organization can help you think about your goals and how you reach those goals, how you actualize them. Super, super important. Okay.
Real quick, Dr. Madden.
Yes.
I'm sorry to jump in,
No, I
everybody.
love it. Hey, Nancy.
I put a little comment in the chat about theory of change versus
Mm.
logic model.
Mm.
So, because we did a theory of change, and then
Mhm.
my second question was, you do a logic model for every program, correct?
So thank you. I love those questions. So the first one about the theory of change. To me, I think that the theory of change feels like the what. This is what you want to do. And the logic model feels like the how. This is how you actualize that theory of change, right? And so the logic model can be helpful because it's almost like the tree question that was asked earlier. You can have a logic model that incorporates multiple programs, or you can create separate logic models. So for clients, I've done it where we had this huge logic model, and then we categorized it by the different programs so that we can track it. Because what happens is that these things converge into increases and decreases in changes that really help us to have our transformational change, our impact. So you can either create a large logic model where you might have chunks of it that are connected to specific programs that converge to get your impact. Or you can have separate logic models that enable you to just track things very specifically, and then you can put those things together and you can see how that works as well. Is that clear, or would an example be helpful for you? Because I'm happy to provide one.
I would love an example.
Okay,
Yeah,
wonderful. Give me 2
example
seconds.
would be great. Yeah.
All right, I got you. I
Because
manage.
I'm challenged with the logic models.
Don't worry, it happened to me too. It happened to me too. And I was like, what, what the good goggly wow. Hold on. I got you. Don't worry. Hold on. Let me get you together.
You could even just like walk through just one.
No, I got you. I got you. Okay, so here is an example of what I mean. So sharing my screen. So here's an example of multiple programs included in one logic model. Is a snippet of one. Yeah, okay. So here you can see, for example, the resources are here, and now you can see the activities I put into categories. So one is around marketing, outreach, and recruiting. One cluster is around the urban farm and community kitchen. One cluster is around how do we do the advanced business and agri-food business entrepreneurs, agripreneurs, I forgot what I call them. And so we can also see the outputs converge, and I kept them in clusters as well. But here's the bigger one, but it's going to be much more difficult to see. Now you can see the convergence. So here's a second example where I have the resources here. The activities are clustered around, and this could be around programs if you want it to be. I've kept the cluster separate in the outputs because I love to anchor activities to outputs. And then the convergence can start in the outcomes because all of these programs are helping to achieve that big transformation with the impact. So you can see how these outcomes can converge to this bigger picture. Is that clear? And then here is an example of what it might look like if you were just running them as single logic models. And so here's an old strategic plan, and we can resend this out so you have it as well. But I'm going to just show you what that looks like. So I'm going to share my screen here. So this is an example of logic models used with just individual programs. So here is the marketing and communications logic model. And so you can see resources, activities, outputs, outcomes, impact. In this one, and this is strategic planning work, I anchored this logic model to a work plan. And so you can see, let me see if I can get one where it's on one page. Nope, can't. Okay, so you can see that these activities, for example, would be linked to a work plan, and then they have sort of like the who's responsible and by when. So that can be helpful. So you can see it above. Oh, I'm sorry to confuse you. Here we go. I'm going to try and move. And so here's the second one for training and structure, and so we have the resources, the activities, the outputs, outcomes, and impact. So again, it all can also tie to a work plan. So, but the point is that you can have separate logic models for each of the projects, or you can converge them into a single logic model so that the convergence becomes clear. Okay, was that clear as an example of a logic model that used multiple programs and a example of logic models where we have individual logic models for each of the programs? Okay, what you use, whatever tool is helpful to your work. The tools exist to help you. We wield the tools. The tools don't tool. We wield the tools. Okay, good. Okay.
The question, maybe
Yes.
you said it, but it's just kind of sinking in.
No
So
worries.
basically, we're going to have a logic model for our organization as a whole and for each program that we undertake.
I'm suggesting that you can have a logic model.
I mean,
For-
should we?
It's
Does it sound
really.
like, I mean,
Mhm.
like if you're trying to really build, because we're a
Mhm.
new
Okay, here,
nonprofit.
I have a
Okay,
wonderful.
so I'm just like really, and
Mhm.
I feel like we're behind.
No,
Really trying to
no.
get focused and build a
Mhm.
strong foundation.
Excellent. I love that. I love that. I want you to, first of all, language is very important. So get rid of that behind, because we never behind, we never losing. We winning and we learning, right? So and like you start today and you already in front. So here's where it could be helpful. It could be that your leadership team might want an organizational wide logic model, but your project team may really only care about their project. And so they could just benefit by focusing only on the things that matter to their particular project. But being able to see the big picture, it becomes a driving force, becomes a motivator, becomes, a renewable energy in a way. So sometimes we might want to have your specific level project because that's what you want that particular team to focus on. But as a leader, you need to understand how it's all playing in helping you, implement this incredible impact. And so you want to be able to see at a broader level how all of these things, come together and converge. So there is a reason where you would want to have everything together as well as having things separate. Does that make sense? All right, good.
I have a question.
Yes.
So for instance, my project goal is to lower like the drug rate that's affecting lower end communities, like, especially like the kids who are like juvenile impacted.
Yes.
We want to in one way, that's my project goal. So then wouldn't my logic goal would be example, well, what am I gonna do? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna teach harm reduction strategies to these low income schools, help teach harm reduction strategies into like the rehab center where I'm at, where that way they could learn these strategies and share it with their companions, with their friends. That way we could lower a drug rate, and then I'm also getting involved in a fan campaign, so we could also lower the overdose that's going on in my community with the city of Palmdale, connecting them, and then starting a youth leadership coalition that's gonna have them involved, and they're gonna be the one hosting listening sessions. They're the ones to be hosting activities, being involved in Red Ribbon Week, and also just, like for instance, also have like a guest speaker come in, and having activities that's gonna like give them drug knowledge. Will that be part of like a logic goal as well? Is that what you're pretty much saying? Like, how are we gonna do it? What I want, what am I gonna do it? But then how will I get this information about the turnout rate? How will I know that this actually worked?
Okay, so let me unpack your questions because they are very good and they are across multiple levels. So let's start with this one. You specifically asked on the logic model piece. So first I was taking notes on the page, but then I thought, well, maybe I can just give an example. So if,
Okay.
for example, you want to do these harm reduction strategy workshops, you want to do the partnerships with the schools, it sounded like you want to do peer
Support.
mentoring, okay, peer support. And it also sounded like so even if we started there, right? So if we move forward in the logic model, because I love anchoring activities to outputs, activities to numbers of things, right? So harm reduction strategies workshops. Maybe you're going to do 1 a quarter. So you're going to do 4, harm reduction strategies workshops, right? And then you want to partner with 5 partner schools. If I could only type. And then peer support, you want to do, monthly peer support, workshops, experiences, whatever you have. Like now let's go backwards in the model. What is it that you need to do these workshops? You might need people who are going to workshop leaders. You might need curriculum. You might need mentors. You might need a location for this, you're going to need youth participants. You might need school champions. And so you're thinking through, and so what happens as a result of this? Because of these workshops, you're going to, increase, I'm just going to put plus, increase, knowledge. You're going to, increase the partnerships, and then the impact is that you're going to, impact the drug rate, right?
Yeah.
And so then your specific activities, you can think about, okay, what are some of the measures? So I'm going to go back up earlier into our presentation. And so in these things, we talked about, like in this curriculum design, the measures is, did we complete that curriculum design? Did that happen? How many training modules did we create for that harm reduction training workshop? So now you're clear about what those, what that measure is and what indicates if you've reached that goal or not. If you want to have the mentors that are doing these workshops, it might be, your measure could be the number of mentors that you recruit or the number of peer, level, participants that you recruited, and, how many have completed the workshop, because maybe you complete the harm reduction workshop and then you're qualified to become a peer mentor. And so now you're thinking about these measures and what indicate if you've been successful in reaching that goal. Now, just like your program, you might want to enroll a certain number of youth in that, or again, the number of schools. How many schools have entered into a MOU, and then or the measure would be the number of MOUs. And then if you have 5 schools, now you know if you've met that indicator or not. And so now you can see how the logic model ties with your organizational objectives. Is that helpful?
Yeah. So it's like continuing my program and having these
Yes.
participants keep going.
Yes,
Okay.
it's all about, it's all about, yes, we need to lower the drug rate, but there are 1,000 ways that we can do it. But you have your way that you're going to do it that takes advantage
Yeah.
of your strengths and opportunities, the
Yeah.
things that your stakeholders are passionate about. And when you can demonstrate the pathway your way, it really helps you to continue to fuel the work and build the velocity that you need in order to get the work done and to demonstrate when you're having impact. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. I
You're
appreciate you
welcome.
so much.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime. Olivia.
So in other words, you're not actually, because I think like maybe what he's asking is like, are you gonna like measure how many less people are doing drugs because of it? But you're saying you're not really measuring the physical impact like in the community. You're measuring whether or not you just did your, what you set out to do.
Yes. So here's the question that Olivia is asking. She's asking, what type of evaluation are you proposing to do? I'm not proposing an outcome evaluation. I don't it to do an outcomes evaluation to like we need a control group and we need a group that actually received the intervention. I'm not willing to not intervene. I'm going to give you a process evaluation. I'm going to tell you what I said I was going to do. And if I was able to do those things that I said I was going to do, and if I was able to have the impact that I propose to have based upon the things, my sphere of control. There are large grants, for example, often at the federal level, where you potentially need to hire an external evaluator. This is a lot of universities provide that service. And then, but sometimes what happens in order to really understand if your intervention had that specific impact, you need a control group and you need a group that actually received the intervention. But many funders are not asking for that level of evaluation. Many funders really just want to understand, quite honestly, they want to understand if you've been able to reach the objectives that you said that you were going to reach. They want to know if you're able to if you're achieving or exceeding those objectives. They want to EYC wants to know if you've completed your listening sessions. They want you to monitor and evaluate the process. These are things that are well within your control, and these are things that your logic model can help you with, that your SWOT analysis can help you with, that your SMART and SMART-T goals can help you with. But it all starts when you can create your organizational goals. Is that helpful, Olivia? Is that clear? Okay, good. All right. Okay, my last slide is just here in that in your presentation deck you will have the links to the mural boards and that's it. And we can have more questions. I have another session on the 20th that builds from this, planning your work and working your plan. And I think it'll be useful. So any questions in our last few minutes together? Again, you can sign up for some coaching. I'm happy to take you wherever you are to wherever it is that you need to be.
Is there a link for your coaching sessions or
Yes.
can you put
Yep,
it
look
in
at
the
look,
chat now?
Chiron's on the job.
Yeah, so I have just added in some new times. So certainly encourage you all to sign up. When you go to the coaching spreadsheet, you will go to the tab that's titled Leverage Point Development. There's some slots on tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday of next week. So we encourage you to sign up for a session. You go to the session, and if you're like, I need more support, then you're welcome to sign up again. So certainly encourage you to start signing up. There are some orgs that have signed up, so that's great to see. And our team will work on getting out those confirmations to you this week. And if you sign up for a time tomorrow, you can expect to receive a confirmation this afternoon. Also, quick plug, we did have a cancellation for a different coaching session this afternoon at 1 p.m. So this particular provider is called Your Part-Time Controller. They have a focus on nonprofit accounting. So if you're interested in joining that session, we kindly ask that you sign up, and then we'll get that confirmation out to you right away, since the session is actually today, this afternoon. But want to thank Dr. Madden for this session. We are certainly looking forward to part 2 of this series, which will be on February 20th. Okay, I'm thinking of the name of it. It's a working year plan. Wait,
Planning your work.
planning your work. First, you got to
Working-
plan, and then
Yes.
we'll work. And then we'll work. So,
Shania,
I'm Shira. I'm sorry.
Shira, I'm sorry, Lenore Tate with Wraparound. We would really like to take advantage of today's session. And I didn't see it on the little grid. saw
Someone
Friday.
just, okay, someone put their name in.
Oh.
However, if they do not enter in their email address, quickly, we'll reach out. We'll reach out to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
if this person completes the sign up, it will be their time. And if not, we'll reach out to you to let you know and share if there are any other available slots. Okay, so the link is in the chat. I'll share it once more. That's the link to sign up for coaching. And again, thank you, Dr. Madden, for this
Thank you,
training,
guys.
and appreciate each of you being here today.
Yay. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time. I always love it when you show up. So, yeah.
Yes. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.